Welcome to the media briefing on the first leg of the visit of Honorable Vice President to the three countries, Botswana, Zimbabwe and Malawi. This is of course part of the continued enhanced engagement with Africa at the highest level. We have with us Secretary Economic Relations, Shri T.S. Tirumurthy, Secretary to Vice President, Dr. Ivy Subbarao, Joint Secretary East and Southern Africa, Dr. Nina Malhotra, and High Commissioner of India to Botswana, Dr. Rajesh Ranjan, who will brief you on the visit. After Secretary ER's remarks, we will have some time for Q&A sessions. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Vice President of India is visiting three countries in Africa. Currently, he is visiting Botswana. He is accompanied by a high-level delegation comprising of Honorable Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment, Shri Krishan Pal Gurjar, and two members of Parliament, namely Shri K. Suresh and Shri V. Muralidharan, in addition to senior officials. The Honorable Vice President and the delegation arrived in Gaborone yesterday. He was the chief guest at the 13th Annual Global Expo Botswana 2018, where His Excellency the Vice President of Botswana, Slumber Sagwawane, was also present. The Honorable Vice President inaugurated the Global Expo 2018, where he delivered the keynote address. He went around the Global Expo and also met the representatives of more than 25 Indian companies which are participating in the Expo. In his inaugural address, the Honorable Vice President spoke on the path-breaking steps India was taking to enhance the ease of doing business, including through introduction of GST. He outlined the various initiatives taken by the Government of India to attract investment and FDI. He also referred to the unprecedented engagement of India with Africa over the last 4 years. He outlined the 10 guiding principles set out by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi to take our relationship with Africa to greater heights. He expressed satisfaction at the close and warm ties with Botswana and our enhanced engagement over the years in the areas of defense and security, trade and investment, healthcare, capacity building, etc. This morning, the two vice presidents had a one-on-one meeting, which was followed by delegation-level talks. The Honorable Vice President referred to the stable democratic environment which Botswana provides and appreciated its important role in the context of the South African Development Community, the SADC. His Excellency, the Vice President of Botswana, Slumber Sagwawane, warmly recalled India's contribution to the freedom struggle of many southern African nations, including Botswana. Both the leaders referred to the close defense cooperation between the two countries, particularly between 1978 till 2012, when Indian Army and Air Force training teams were stationed in Botswana. They agreed to enhance cooperation in defense and security. Botswana appreciated the assistance given by India in capacity building, particularly under ITEC. In the last 4 years, Botswana has utilized more than 600 slots under ITEC, IAFS and ICCR. The Honorable Vice President expressed willingness to enhance our ITEC slots to more than the 140 slots which we are currently extending to Botswana. Both sides agreed to further develop and diversify trade and economic engagement. The Botswana side expressed their keenness to have Indian companies, particularly the private sector, to invest in Botswana. Many Indian companies are already present in Botswana, including 3 Indian banks. Our bilateral trade in Botswana has registered an impressive increase of 26% last year, taking it to US dollars 1.75 billion. Both sides also agreed to enhance cooperation in areas like copper mining, etc. Both sides expressed their determination to take bilateral relations to the next level and enhance cooperation in a range of areas including agriculture, ICT, energy, health, capacity building, judicial cooperation, etc. Botswana also announced their decision to join the International Solar Alliance. This is a very significant development and was welcomed by our side. We also expressed our happiness over Botswana's continuous support in the multilateral fora, reflecting the enduring spirit of friendship between the two countries. Both sides strongly condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations as a global menace. The various dimensions of counter-terrorism steps, including terror financing, were discussed. The Botswana side indicated the various laws enacted by them to counter terrorism, money laundering, trafficking, cybercrime, etc. Both sides agreed that the UNCCIT should be adopted at the earliest. Both sides also agreed that the UN Security Council needs to be reformed to make it more representative in response to the geopolitical realities of the 21st century. The Botswana side deeply appreciated the cooperation they were receiving from India and from Indian companies in the area of healthcare. In the context of a request from the Botswana side for India's support in telemedicine, the Indian side conveyed the decision of the Government of India to extend e-learning and e-health projects to all countries in Africa, including Botswana. The Honorable Vice Presidents also indicated India's strength in traditional medicine, particularly Ayurveda and in yoga, and offered to extend our cooperation in these important areas. This was welcomed by the Botswana side. This evening, Honorable Vice President will be addressing and interacting with the Indian community in Botswana. There is a vibrant community of more than 7,000 whose contribution to Botswana's development has been deeply appreciated. Tomorrow, Honorable Vice President will be meeting prominent CEOs of Indian and Botswana entities and companies, after which he will be visiting the Diamond Trading Center, Botswana. The Honorable Vice President is also expected to meet His Excellency the President of Botswana, Dr. Mongtswiti Eric Masisi, before his departure to Zimbabwe. Thank you, and I'll be happy to take questions. We have been having very close cooperation with Botswana between 1978 and 2012, particularly in the context of training both the Army and the Air Force. What is interesting is that the Botswana Defence Forces themselves were formed in 1977. So literally, India was the first country they approached to help us to train their defence forces. And therefore, we are extremely happy with the engagement we have had over the years. In 2014, we had a memorandum of agreement with them to send training teams again. Now, we are in the process of negotiating some of the changes which needs to be incorporated in the memorandum of agreement. But the Honorable Vice President, he proposed a solution to this, the issue of stationing some of our training teams here. And he said that he'd be happy to bring our training teams under ITEC. And this proposal from the Honorable Vice President was welcomed by the Botswana side. And we are confident that we will be able to bring our training teams back, because Botswana is very keen that, given their excellent experience with our training teams, that they want us back in Botswana. And we are very happy that this is one of the important outcome of the discussions with the Botswana side.
माइनिंग सेक्टर में और मेडिसिन के सेक्टर में जो समझौते हैं जो हम कोऑपरेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, तो किस तरह का कोऑपरेशन आएगा?
One of the requests which the Botswana side had was also in the area of copper mining. And we indicated to them that the Indian private sector companies, which are already operating in Africa, they would be very happy to come and look at their mining sector. And as you know, we have some important companies working in Africa, particularly in Zambia and other places. And I think they are already in discussion with the government of Botswana. And therefore, I think this is a process which we will certainly encourage. As far as the health sector is concerned, this has actually become a very important area of cooperation. The Botswana side, in fact, enumerated the various ways in which our health sector companies and hospitals have come here and helped them. Particularly in the area, for example, they mentioned that between 2016 and 2018, more than 5,100 cataract operations were performed by Indian doctors here. And there are various other areas, particularly operations and very technical, very intricate operations which we have been able to perform. And they, in fact, gave us an account of what our companies are doing in healthcare. And this is something they definitely want to develop. They want to take it forward. And we readily agreed. As you know, that Africa is a very important area, not just for our healthcare outreach, but it is also important in the context of pharmaceutical exports from India. So I think this is a growing area. And just as I mentioned in my statement, we are also focusing on Africa-wide telemedicine engagement. This will probably come in by the middle of next year. We are putting in place the different systems. We are also taking pilot projects. And it's a web-based system. And this is something which TCIL is implementing for us. And we are confident that once that comes in, the telemedicine outreach from India to Africa will also be strengthened.
So what's the timeline for setting up India-Botswana Diamond Institute?
The India-Botswana Diamond Institute, it was envisaged earlier. It is not a new proposal. But what happened is that the Botswana side actually sent a delegation to India. You know that from the Indian side, the Indian Diamond Institute from Surat, they are the nodal institute. So they sent to India and they had actually discussed with us. But after some point of time, there was a gap and we did not receive a response from them. And that is also partly because if you look at Botswana, you have gone around, you have met people. There are nearly about 20 diamond companies here which are operating. 8 to 10 of them are Indian companies. And they are engaged precisely in polishing and cutting and that type of expertise which Botswana wants. So therefore, probably there was some discussion within their own government about the utility of this institute. But however, when we were discussing this matter, they were very keen to approach us once again and seek our help in setting up this institute. And we said we are readily agreed that we will be happy to set up this institute. So now we will make sure that this process is taken forward.
This issue was discussed at today's talks.
Yes, the diamond, it was one of their requests which had come.
So this Solar Alliance, Botswana is ready to sign any timeline soon or?
Yes, in fact, the International Solar Alliance, we have been placing a lot of importance on it. Particularly, it has been partly because it has been the vision of our Prime Minister. Therefore, we had approached all countries, in fact, and if you recall, in the very first General Assembly of the International Solar Alliance, we are opening it up to all countries in the world. And that was the decision which was taken by the General Assembly. It was in this context that we had also approached Botswana much earlier, but given the importance of the visit of the Honorable Prime Minister, they have taken a decision that during this visit, they will convey to us that they are ready to sign it. They will be signing it very soon because there is a process. What they do is they sign it, then they deposit the instrument with us, and then it is passed on. So there is a process for that. That may take a bit of time, but I don't expect too much time to be taken. But I think the Honorable Vice President, in fact, conveyed his happiness at this development, and we welcome them into this fraternity.
Sir, China has a deep penetration in entire Africa. We have seen that in recent years, our top leadership visited entire Africa. So, are we going to see more increased frequent visits or more frequent these type of agreements in entire Africa? Will there be a long-standing policy?
See, let me put it this way, that I do not want to judge our relations with Africa through the prism of any other country. Let me be very frank. And secondly, if you talk about deep penetration, you mentioned about deep penetration, I don't think any country has the type of deep penetration compared to India. Why I'm telling you is that when we look at the type of, the extent of engagement with Africa, it is phenomenal. I would like to quote an instance for your information. When we had a visitor, the foreign minister of an African country who came to India 3 months ago, when he arrived at the airport, the first telephone call he made was to his school teacher in Chennai, who had retired by the time and settled down in Chennai. Now, this is the type of engagement which no country has with Africa. There are teachers, even in Botswana, in many leadership positions of all over Africa, they are taught by Indian teachers. They have visited India. They have taken part in our capacity building programs. They know India. This type of a penetration, I don't think any country has. So therefore, let me say that on this count, when you look at the range of areas in which we are collaborating with Africa, we are second to none. That is the way I would look at it. But at the same time, I think you probably mean the Indian assistance which we are giving, particularly in the context of lines of credit. And there I would like to mention that our outreach with Africa has been unprecedented. We have had 26 high-level visits to Africa in the last 4 years. This is something unprecedented. This is the 27th visit by the highest levels in our government, Prime Minister, Vice President and President levels. And we are doing 2 more. So there will be 29 visits by the time this visits are over. This is something which has been noticed by Africa. They deeply appreciate the fact that we are engaging them at the highest levels, and this is making a big difference to our relations. And you also know that in 2015, we have pledged $10 billion as lines of credit for African countries. We have also pledged $600 million as grant and 50,000 scholarships. And you'll be happy also to know that we are well on our way to fulfilling these pledges in the last 2.5 years or so. So I think, and also you recall that only recently we had announced that we are opening 18 missions in Africa, so which essentially brings us the Indian residence presence in Africa will be 47 missions. So therefore, I think we are definitely, going well on our way to engaging with Africa in a very, very big way and a comprehensive way.
Are there any more questions?
Adding this 18, it will be 47.
Sorry?
Adding this 18, now it will be 47.
Yes. Yes.
Are there any more questions? If not, then we consider this press briefing concluded. Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for coming.